Welcome back. Check the Pulse podcast episode 4. I messed up on the last one. That was 3, not 2. We're here again with another amazing guest who has an amazing story. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and then we're going to get right into the conversation.
Well, thank you so much, Kristina, for having me.
Of course.
So my name is Selena. I am a registered nurse by background. I've been in home care for 10 years, and I am the owner of OppiLife Home Care. So we provide services for seniors in their homes, anywhere they call home. So if that's their residential home, their long-term care home, or a retirement home, we help them support to stay in the community outside the hospital.
Which is amazing. I think everyone can relate to that. Everyone has an elderly or a family member of some sort that I think would prefer to have home care if that was a more feasible option for them. Mm-hmm. So that being said, tell us kind of your journey, how you got into it, where you started, and like how you are where you are now.
Yeah, so when I went into nursing school, so actually going back to high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but from a very young age, I loved working with seniors, and I loved helping people. So my mom is actually a registered nurse, and she's like, if you like helping people, if you want to become a doctor, nursing is like a great way of just getting your foot in the door and seeing if you like working with people, working in medicine, working in hospitals and different facilities.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to Ryerson, now TMU, went into nursing school. And in my second year, I wanted to find a job.
Yeah.
It was actually my first year I was looking, but my second year I started in home care. Yeah. But I kind of trickled upon it. Like, I didn't really know what.
That wasn't like the goal. You just ended up there.
So I just wanted a job to get my foot in the door in nursing, but to get like that experience, right? So I ended up falling upon this job, got it, and I was like, oh, cool. Yeah. So I was a personal support worker and a home support worker. But I didn't know what that was. Yeah. And I didn't know what I was going, where I was going.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyways, I ended up going from home to home to home, providing personal care. And I help people stay at home. And it was my favorite job.
This is it.
So ended up loving it because people were happier at home. They did so well in their home. And having me come, there was like the delight of their day. Yeah. So they're like, oh, thankfully I'm not in the hospital.
Of course.
And thankfully to see you here. Because sometimes they didn't have that social support, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, I ended up having that home care experience. And when I graduated from nursing, RN has an acute care. So I was like, okay, let's try the hospital again. Because my whole clinical experience was through hospital. Right. And then I had home care on the side. Right. So I ended up going to hospital, but in the hospital I was working, everyone wanted to be at home.
Okay.
So
you're like,
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, well, okay, if I'm supporting them here, which people obviously need treatment when they're going through a change in health, but how can we prevent it? Like the promotion, prevention, and maintenance of people's health. So I'm like, okay, that's where I want to focus my practice. Yep. So I ended up going back into home care, and in a company where I worked as a PSW, I grew. Right. I ended up being in corporate, managed a big office of 650 staff. Wow. So it was really big, and I loved what I was doing because it was helping people stay in their home. Yeah. But again, there's gaps. Right. There's when you're working with the government, there's a lot of red tape sometimes, and with COVID, we had minimum resources and minimum funding. Yeah. So at the end of the day, the quality of care was not what we would wanted it to be. For sure. And with the government, sometimes things take a lot longer.
For sure. Especially in COVID, there was a backlog with everything.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. And home care is not the most known as like a long-term care home or a hospital, right? So there's not as much emphasis. So I want to bring emphasis to the home care field and bring to kind of vocalize how important it really is. Yeah. So I wanted to more lobby for that, but I also had a standard of home care or care in general that I wanted to uphold too. And of course, with the government, it was with some of the guidelines, we weren't able to do that, unfortunately. So I'm like, I want to do more. I feel like people deserve more, especially seniors. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have funding, the people, as healthcare workers, we kind of get the short end of the stick. But the client is the one that gets the least, right? Yeah. So I'm like, I want to give more. I want to do more. I want to have an evolved standard of what care should look like and a broader perspective. So I opened up OppiLife.
All right.
So I did private care on the side, and because I wanted to start that in the community. And then I left my corporate job.
You're like, that's it, I'm done.
So yeah, like especially after COVID, I was like, before I get burnt out, before I continue to up the ladder, because I was trickling up the ladder in that company.
It was corporate structure, right? So you have that growth for sure.
Exactly. And they were giving me opportunities, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do more. So with Ben, I opened up OppiLife, and it's been like a fantastic journey, being able to connect with people on different levels, being able to go into people's homes, wherever that is, across the GTA, seeing people's circumstances and how we can tailor their care to remain at home or remain where they are or reach their goals. It's been so rewarding, and I don't even look back.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like now you feel like you're really living out like your true mission, because it's coming from internal, like your heart's happy, right? Like, because you see what you're providing. And I always had this theory that like, and it's funny because after talking to you, I'm like, this is definitely right. But I just feel like when you're older and you go into the hospital, like, not that they write you off, but it's just kind of like you're older, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I always say home care is the best. I always thought that, just because you're getting a personal experience and the person coming actually cares about you. Like, you're not just a number. Yeah. And like, they know, like, you know, your nooks and crannies. Like, what do you need help with, or what do you need that day? Maybe it's an extra conversation. But I feel like in a hospital that kind of gets lost, because I got to go here, I got to see you, I got to see the next patient. Or like, okay, sometimes even you go as a visitor, I'm like, is there a nurse here? Like, hello? So it's tough, right? And obviously that's a lot of the government too, when it comes to like staffing and all that. But yeah, so I think that's like amazing for sure. And I think what I'm understanding too is like your biggest shift was like following your heart and like what felt right to you and what you want to provide to others. And
it came with challenges, obviously, right? Like to leave a stable job with a stable income with benefits, like, and you get into this routine of, oh, like this is kind of your lifestyle, right? But again, coming from passion, I was like, we need to do more. People deserve more, and seniors have always been like the heart for me. So
they always got a soft spot for sure. They always got the soft spot.
No, they're and people honestly, I keep saying this, people do deserve more at the end of their life. They worked. I've seen families and even seniors that have worked 60 years, or they're immigrants, came to this country, worked hard. They built these homes. They built the hospitals, right? Like even my nunno, he was at Mackenzie Health, Richmond Hill, and he's like, oh, actually, I did the waterproofing on this.
Stop.
I'm like, oh my gosh. See, like they did all that stuff. So I'm like, why don't you, at the end of the day, because you've done this for us, we give back.
Yeah, 100%. Right? I think that's actually a view that I think more people should pick up on and like move in that way. Because it's kind of like, oh, well, they're older. Like, you're driving and there's the nunny driving, you're yelling at him because he's driving slow. And it's like,
it's a stereotype, right? And I see, even in like through my experience in nursing, and he has a PSW, people not write them off, but they're kind of undervalued because cognitively, sometimes you have forgetfulness. So they're like, oh, well, you just may have forgot. Or they're like, oh, you can't make a decision anymore. Although you can. Like, they have control.
They're still there.
Like, they went through 70 years, right? So they know a lot. They have a lot of stories. They have a lot of wisdom too. Like, I hear so many stories about I always talk about this, but there's one couple that gave me like relationship advice. I
love that. Well, they got it. They got it. Like,
or investment advice, or they gave me like what Canada used to look like versus now. And it's literally mind blowing, because those are things that you don't really talk about on a day to day. You don't hear anymore. Like,
for sure,
it's not shared enough.
No, I agree. And I think too, like, a lot of people sometimes don't even have that family aspect of it, you know, like coming from like, you come from like a great family, like I'm grateful, same thing with me. So like sometimes you forget that there is people out there that don't have that. And like when I worked at the bank, I saw that a lot of the elderly would come, and like I was in an area where there was a lot of elderly. So like they would come and be like, oh, for Christmas, like, what are you doing? Or like your grandkids, whatever. Oh, my son doesn't talk to me. Oh, I don't. And like your heart breaks, and like you see they're old, they're fragile. So like even just you being able to go in and provide that personal, even if it's just a conversation, like can make their whole day. And I'm sure you see that.
Exactly. And that's the thing that we try to even just tell families, because a lot of, like, even my grandfather wants to be at home. Right. And so usually in that age group between like 65 to 80, 85 plus, their friends are passing away. Their family's very busy. Their children are like the sandwich generation where they have kids and then they have their parents, right? Yeah. So there's a lot going on and they end up being isolated because they don't have that social support or as much support as they really need.
Right.
Because at the end of your few years or your years, you need that help, right? Sure. So I even tell families, like, it could be something that what we do is socialization, right? Or companionship. And it's so damn important because people have hope. You get a sense of hope, but two, you have purpose, right? Like sharing stories. They love doing that. Or if that's using puzzles, because cognitive stimulation is what kind of reduces your way of getting forgetful or Alzheimer's or anything like that, right? So people don't emphasize enough about socialization and companionship. Yeah. So although it will cost you money because our services are not free, right? But because the government doesn't provide socialization or companionship, unfortunately. But it is super important for quality of life.
For sure, and I feel like it just gives you like longevity with regards to your life, like quality, yes, but like also you live longer because even like I think about it, like a lot of older people, why they deteriorate is they go into the hospital, all of a sudden like they lose visitors, their kids are busy, or everyone's busy, or whatever. So it's like now they're by themselves sitting in this place that looks miserable. It's not
unfamiliar.
Right. So it's just like, I get that. It's depressing. Yeah. Whereas like, at least if you're home already, that helps. Exactly. That's the first part. And then like, at least if you come and have that conversation, have that socialization, it brings you life. Even just like, me sometimes I'm bored. I'm by myself. I'm like, is anyone here? Like, where's my family? Like,
or if you work so much, like as entrepreneurs, right? We get so isolated.
Yeah. And then sometimes you realize like, wait, I need that break. Like, let me just go out for a second. And I think even so, just touch back on entrepreneurship. I know we spoke about this off camera. I have a similar story. I was in corporate and I left. So I get that. Like, you're stable and now you're like, I'm on my own. Yeah. But I mean, if you love what you do, it's always worth it. Yeah. What would you say, was your biggest driving factor outside the fact you wanted to provide a certain level of healthcare? Yeah. Like, you obviously had to go through a lot. And like, I know you even spoke at VC about like, you needed funding at the beginning. Like, it's not easy to get into what you got into. So what really made you be like, I don't care what's coming at me, I'm going. Like, this is it. Like, this is the home run.
Yeah. I think it was one, seeing the level of care in the government sector. And what it could be, but also it was my own internal drive. I came from a family of entrepreneurs. Yeah. So they've always tested boundaries, tried to do something better, taken a risk. And for me, because it was so innate, I wanted to do that.
That's
too.
fair.
So I was like, why not? Let's try. Yeah. Like, the worst that could happen is you fail. Right. And money is replaceable. Yeah. The only thing that's not replaceable is your health and time. Right. So if you can do all of that in that time frame that you're in that age group and then why not?
100%, 100%. And I think it helps a lot too, like coming from that entrepreneurial background. Yeah. You growing up are seeing the risks being taken. Like, you're seeing the sacrifice needed.
It was normalized in my family.
Right. Yeah. And like, I think that helps because a lot of people, I think, underestimate those values and like the fact that needs to happen in order to become a successful entrepreneur. Yes. Like, I tell people all the time, like, you need discipline, you need drive, and you can't have fear of failure. Because if you have fear of failure, you're not going to take risk. If you're not going to take risk, you're going to stay comfortable. And if you're comfortable, you're complacent. Like, that's literally just how it goes, So,
and our biggest, like, what me and Ben always say, and we normalize this, is to be comfortable with the uncomfortable.
100%. Because you only grow in uncomfortable situations. So like, I think even now, like even what you do, you're going into people's homes. Like that's a very personal experience. So it's not always going to be a comfortable experience, or you're going to deal with their kids who might have all 150 questions, right?
But that's true too. Cause a lot of the conversations I've had, even through my nursing career and even to my PSW, were challenging conversations, of course. Right? Like deciding if you want to be resuscitated, if there is an emergency, where your heart stops, right? Or financially, where would you like to be? Or it could be something as small as, do you want to decide on being comfortable versus treating? Right. And I had to have that conversation with my own no recently, and it is challenging, right? Sure. So in those challenging circumstances, I was able to kind of grow through through these people. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, well, also there's a lot of clients that had companies, and they came to this country and they gave me courage. So I'm like, true. And even clients were like, if I can do it, you can do it.
100%. They had less then, for sure, right? So it's like now, it's entrepreneurship's always a challenge, but I always say I think we're more grateful now just because like we have access to so many more resources than like you think of like our nanny coming here or like even our parents, like very different. Like my dad looks at us all the time and he's like, if you guys aren't like millionaires by the time you're at this age, he's like, you have so much access to all these resources. And like, if you're not taking advantage of it, like what are you doing? Right?
That's true too, right? Like we have, well, now it's AI, right? Well, we have Google, which they never had. We have phones everywhere coming with us. So it's kind of, it would be unfortunate if you don't take advantage of the situations. That's how I see it. For sure. But also life, like what we normalize in our office is life is a journey. Right. So you take challenges as a learning opportunity, and good times, you take it as a gratitude. Of course. Right. So, with entrepreneurship, there's going to be challenging times. So you have to have those mottos that we have every day and remind each other. Because there's some people are going to have bad days and some people are going to have good days, right? It's true. Yeah.
And then how do you navigate, like, obviously you're in partnership in your business. So I'm not. So like, I like asking, like, how does that work? Like, what's the biggest factors to making sure you guys work well together? Is it like personality, seeing the same values, seeing the same beliefs? Like, is there tips? How do you manage that?
So before we even started Opulife, when me and Ben came together, we're like, hey, what is our mission, our vision, and our values?
Which is important.
Exactly. And we had to come together. We had some challenging conversations, long conversations over a long period of time to say, what do we both want coming into it? And at the end of the day, it was for our community and to do something more. So having that, we grew, right? But the great thing, what complements me and Ben is the business aspect of things. So he takes care of the marketing, he takes care of the finances. So he does that aspect and I take care of the care, which is two major components in our business.
For sure. Yeah.
And because our personalities, we're families. So we do live together. We see each other every day. And with our same vision, values, and goals, it's very compatible that way. Of course. And with his perspective on business and my perspective on care, it's exactly what we needed in Opulife. So we're like, this is a no-brainer. So it kind of came easy to us in that way. Maybe not as, because we weren't just any like strangers. Exactly. Like we weren't fully strangers. We knew each other for so long before. So it was just more of the business aspect coming together and having a very common, strong understanding of what we're going into this. And even we have people that come to us all the time looking at partnerships or collaborations. And we're like, is it still come down to our vision, our mission, and our values? Right. Because it all has to come down to that. And that's that was our foundation that we set. So anyone that comes in or wants to join us has to be within that too. So it doesn't break anything.
And I think that's important because there is a lot of businesses that try to start and they don't have that baseline and then, I'll invest in you. Yeah, no problem. And all of a sudden now this guy doesn't believe in what you believe in. So that's like super, super important. It's great that like you guys balance. And I think even from a client side, knowing like, hey, you can actually come like to my home, take care of, let's say it's like my dad, and I'm not stressed about you need to go do your accounting work after. That helps, right? It's that ease of mind of like, okay, he has one aspect, you have the other. Yes. And like, I get your full attention. He's running your business. So you're not stressed about like the emails and the this and the that. So it's definitely a good balance. So I think that's amazing for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And with care, you obviously don't want to bring in the financial aspect too, right? Because we want it to be like he has his side and we keep them separate so that we're able to do our expertise separately, but come together to make a decision. Is there challenging times? Yeah, because he sees one way, we see another. Of course. But at the end of the day, if you guys have a compatibility as well as the same vision, at the end of the day, it's going to work. Right? For sure. You'll make it work.
And I think it helps you too, right? Even in those tough times, like you have each other to bounce off of. And it's that's like, true too. Hey, remember why we're here. Like, let's go. We're going to keep going, you know? Yeah. So it definitely helps. I know a lot of people like say, you know, find a partner or find someone that you can work alongside with because they really help you excel and push your business forward because they have your back when it's like, maybe it's like 80-20 sometimes or whatever. We're human. You have those days. So I think for sure that's a big...
The one thing that people have said to us, and maybe your audience or anybody listening has a similar experience, is people are like, are you sure you want to get into business with your family? Yeah, because Ben is our family. We have an unorthodox family. We have two families that came together and now we live together. So yeah, it has its risks, but at the end of the day, who do you trust the most? Your family, right? And we're such a strong family. So we're like, I don't trust we trust each other so much, and it works out that way, right? Yeah, there can be bad blood sometimes in families, but that can be any partnership, right? So as long as you're able to divide them or create some sort of boundary, you will be successful either way.
And I think that too also comes down to, the family foundation in general.
Yes.
Because it's like,
that's
you
true.
can be family, but some people have best friends that are closer to them than family. So like, maybe if I get into my business with my family at that point, if we already don't get along on one level, we're not going to run a business together. But like,
fair enough.
If you have a strong family foundation, they are the people you trust. They are the people that have your back. Like, that's your core. So
exactly.
If I'm going to fight someone, I'd rather fight you because I know you're still going to like have my back,
Fair enough.
Like we're good. Like we're good. I know you're not going to like walk out and be like, screw this. Because it's like, you care about me on top of caring about the business.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's huge. I know a lot of people say like, don't get business with family. It's like a problem. But no, it's pretty cool.
And it's been working out. So it's just a testament to, one, our character, but two, what we believe in. And if you, as an entrepreneur, you have to believe in what you're providing. 100%.
You have to understand your why.
Your why. And if you believe in your partnership as well, obviously it takes two people to tango. It's like any sort of relationship. But if you're both in it for the same purpose, the same reason, and you're in it to make a difference, it will work out.
For sure. Yeah. And then I guess one of my last questions would be, so you're in an industry where I guess you focus more on elderly, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, so nowadays, a lot of people, when they want to advertise themselves, it's all like social media. So how do you get yourself out there?
So we have our marketing strategies, obviously, like very similar to any other business. The one different thing that we do in home care or even healthcare in general is we try to leverage social media and educational content.
Got it. Okay.
So
that's cool.
If you follow us on opulife.ca, if that's LinkedIn, if that's TikTok or Instagram, what we try to do is create videos that provide people with education around topics of aging.
Got it.
So if that is like falls risks or fall prevention, how like we did one in the winter safety, slipping, right?
That's
slips,
it.
trips, and falls. Now soon we're gonna be doing one about the sun because melanoma, and as you age, your skin becomes more fragile. And then you're more risk when you're in the sun for cancer, skin cancer. So we'll be doing stuff like that. And the reason we did that, or we continue to do that, is to give people the knowledge and to make their own decision.
Yeah, which
right?
I love that, yeah.
Exactly. And like we provide service, yes, but at the end of the day, people want to feel in control of their health.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
And our mission is health prevention, promotion, and maintenance. So if we are providing people with that education to maintain their health, they're more likely to have a better quality of life, right? And feel better about themselves. And yes, they'll need our services eventually because everyone ages, there's physical components, but if we can provide people with knowledge that people don't talk about on a daily basis, one, to start a conversation, but two, for also awareness.
Yeah. And a lot of that stuff is free value, right? Because if they see what you're providing is valuable, then they'll reach out to you for the service. That's how it works. And like, that's what I tell people, even from a social media side. The more you give out for free, the more people trust you. And it's like, even if you're dealing with elderly, maybe it's their kids that are on social media, like our parents. And it's like, they'll see it and be like, oh, like my dad is going through this right now. Or like, so that's how you kind of target, because you're not going to like advertise to a 7-year-old. But like, who's around that 7-year-old? Even me, my nonno, maybe I see something, I'm like, oh wait, like I should tell them that, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's like a genius way of going about it, just because like you don't want to push services on someone when you can give them value instead.
Exactly. And it takes a community to take care of anybody, if that's a baby or a senior. So yeah, you're making decisions as a family usually, or you're trying to help your loved one as much as possible. So yeah, elderly don't go on social media as much, or seniors, but their family does, and we like it's free, but I also love doing it too.
Yeah, of course, right? Of course.
That was like when I was working in home care as a PSW, which was years ago.
Yeah, I
was like, I want to do this. Yeah, this is before like healthcare and social media. People were promoting health, right? And I was like, I really want to do this. And then obviously you see like Dr. Mike and all these then you're like, bigger ones, but I'm like, okay, let me start this. And home care, again, like going back to the values or what our company stands for, is we want to be able to have those conversations, right? And having those topics, or just starting the conversation. Maybe somebody's like, oh, during our consultations, because we provide a free consultation, like, oh, you mentioned this on your social media. What did you mean by that? Or my father is expressing this, like, what do you see there? Right? But also like bring it to the entrepreneur side. people saw me like in their homes and they're like, you're 16 years old. What do you know? Right. So like, I was like, okay, I'm not 16.
Relax.
Okay. But I do look young.
Yeah.
Right. And I come with youthful energy because like you need some sort of energy in there. But people are like, they kind of dismiss me through my age.
Right.
And it was kind of ageist in a way. So I was like, okay, well, if people really want to feel comfortable and I want to build trust with these people, I also need to demonstrate that I know.
Of course.
Right.
Of course. You have to build credibility.
Exactly. So we're like, okay, let me express, let me share so that people, one, can gain the knowledge, but two, they can also build trust with me and be able to allow me into their home, because our service is very vulnerable to have a stranger like me come into your home
and deal with someone you love.
Exactly. So I also wanted to start that trust in the community, if we call it credibility, but also just like be able to express what I know and help people in the meantime.
Yeah, I think that's a very smart, like from a marketing side, that's a smart tactic, just because like you got to play to your strengths and what's needed in your specific like industry, right? And I find too many people just try to copy other companies and it's like, but that might not work for you. Yes. And like what will work for you and what you're providing, what your company provides. And like you guys really nailed that with how you do it. Yeah. So I guess to just kind of like close it off, like how could people reach out to you if they did want to inquire about your services?
So for our services, you can go on our website, oppulife.ca or www.oppulife.ca. We have a contact page. You can literally throw any information that would help us. You can book a free consultation. We can have a chat on the phone, whatever works best. I do like to see people in person because it allows me to see their environment, which is a safety concern. But also it gives me objective data to be able to make a better judgment. But they can reach out to me on our website, on social media, LinkedIn if it's more personal, or my number is on our website, so you can always reach out to me there.
All right, amazing. Well, I'm going to drop all those links in the bio, the wherever it is, YouTube, Instagram, it's all on a different spot. Anyways, so I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. And I hope a lot of it resonates with you. Everyone has somebody at some point that I think obviously falls unwell. And I think home care, personally, I could be biased, is the better option. Selena will definitely agree. So stay tuned, subscribe, like, follow. And like I said, I'm going to drop all their links. Give them a follow and reach out to them with any questions you may have. I know they'd be more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Kristina. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Ciao.